Hi everyone, welcome back to another reading vlog. I am coming to you from Comfort City, Population 1 in my cozy oodie, and I am getting all snuggled up and wrapped up to do a little bit of editing and then a little bit of reading. I'm at the gym right now, so I'm gonna go downstairs in a bit and curl up with the dog and do a lovely chunk of reading. Oh, I've just realised you can see my Nosferatu top in the background. Sorry, not Nosferatu, it's Nosferatu. Oh, I'm so sorry. Anyway, I'm going to take you through some of the books that I'm going to be reading this week. I've got kind of two in mind for the time being. The first of which is Vala by John Gwynne. I really can't concentrate with her screaming in the background. Let me just readjust you. Wait. Okay, we're back with a new angle. Anyway, oh my god, I've got like a creepy pumpkin in the background of this other side. Can you see it? Wait, let me just... Nice. Flawless. I don't know why I didn't set it up like this in the first place, but anyway, the first up is Vala by John Gwynne. I am very excited to get to this because I read the first one, Malice, about a year ago-ish now, and although I found the first half very slow when I first read it, the second half really picked up and really left everything on like quite a big sort of cliffhanger, very dramatic scenario. So I have been excited to get back into it, but then Becca from Becca and the Books announced for her catch-up book club that they were going to be doing this for the late half of the year, so I was like, well, I might as well postpone and just like do it along with that. So this should hopefully be read by the end of March. I'll be reading other things in between as well, but this will be my main book because I would like to read this at a faster pace than what I read Malice originally, because when I originally read Malice, I think it took me like almost a month. I mean, I was reading other things as well, but it took me so long for some reason, and I don't want the same sort of pacing issues to happen with this. Malice is a sort of Celtic / Nordic inspired fantasy that involves giants. There's sort of low magic, there's sort of wolves and other kind of miscellaneous mythical creatures. And Malice is very much a sort of slow build. It's establishing the family dynamics, it's establishing all the characters. We follow different POVs, quite a few actually, but the main one we follow is a young man, sort of child, on the cusp of adulthood called Corban. He's growing up in his town, going through the sort of coming of age warrior trial. Men get put through at this age, and he is just kind of, you know, going about his day. It does follow a lot of day-to-day business of these characters. So there's another character called Veradis, there's Corban's sister, like there are quite a few characters who you follow in this, and it is very expansive. There's a lot of names going on. You will need the reference at the front, which is why I actually haven't been listening to it on audiobook, because I feel like it would actually flow very well in audiobook, but there's just so many characters I need to follow, so I do keep having to look back at the character reference, which I basically never do, but in this I find it quite essential. So basically you're following him as there are stirrings of some prophecies and some legends and some potential wars that are coming to the forefront, and there are a couple of different kingdoms and stuff in here that tensions are beginning to rise between, and basically it all comes to the head at the end of the first book, and this is now the second book where we are seeing the fallout of all that action from the first book. So I can't obviously take you through too much about this because it's a sequel. The other book I'm reading this week is also a sequel, but I'll get to that in a second. It's probably a bit more exciting, and I think more of you will probably read it, but I'm very excited to go through this and see how I feel about the second one, because like I said, I kind of gave the first one 3 stars, because although the end half of the first one was like a 5-star for me, the first half was so slow and it took me so long to get through. So we'll see if I can kind of keep the pace up a little bit more for this, keep the momentum going a little bit. I am already about 50 pages into it, so not very far if you can see how big the actual book is. The second book I will be reading this week is Onyx Storm, which is the 3rd book in the Imperium or Fourth Wing series by Rebecca Yarros. Obviously this has taken the world by storm. We all know about Fourth Wing at this point. I do actually quite enjoy Fourth Wing. I think it was very fun, very fast-paced, quick, not necessarily anything special or fantastic, but a really fun romantasy story, and I did really enjoy the first one. Iron Flame was very mid and very disappointing, but I think that was pretty much a collective opinion from everyone. The characters were annoying, there was a lot of just hoo-hawing about basically for no reason, and the inconsistency in the writing was also a big bother for me in the second one. But I'm also part way into this. I'm actually not 100% sure because I am listening to it on the audiobook. I don't want to say at least 100 pages or so into this, and I am enjoying this much more so far. I do think some of the issues with the writing have been fixed in this, and there is definitely better pacing, and the character dynamics are slightly improved as well. So I am enjoying this so far, but I'm sure we all know about Fourth Wing. The first one follows a chronically ill girl who is the daughter of a general at a dragon riding academy, and in this world it is very like war-based world. They are constantly on the back foot of a war between their country who rides dragons and another country who rides other creatures, and some other darker forces are at play as well. Like I said, we follow a chronically ill girl who has been raised her entire life to thinking that she would go into like the scribe or scholar quadrant of this academy, and instead her mother forces her to go into the dragon riding, and this is a very brutal, cutthroat sort of academic setting in this fantasy world, and it is really fun. There is a mysterious shadow daddy in the wings who is also part of a rebellion group. Like, it's very cliche, but also pretty fun and pretty well executed for the first book. Like I said, the second book was definitely not a favourite of mine, but I actually really did enjoy the first book, and I am actually quite enjoying this one too. I feel like we're back on form. So these are the two books that I will be reading this week. I will keep you updated if I finish and complete and make progress on any of them, and I'll just take you through my week as well. I'm at work 4 days this week, so we'll see how we go in terms of me keeping on top of actually updating you and getting through these, but you know, I'll keep you updated as and when. But yes, I am very excited. Very different sort of classes of fantasy here. We have the epic high fantasy, heavily lauded and very critically acclaimed chunky fantasy series, and we have the fast-paced, smutty romantasy that is taking the world by storm. So apparently I'm hitting all the fantasy genres this week, but I will keep you updated as we go. Hello, it is a few days later, and I just thought I'd pop on because I got a Vinted parcel and I thought I would unpackage it with you. I'm slowly trying to replace most of my wardrobe with like natural fibres, so I'm starting with knitwear. This I got yesterday from Vinted as well. It's 100% wool, so I'm kind of loving it. And this is like a cream jumper, I think, with like a high neck. So I thought I'd unbox it for you, and I thought I'd show you it. So let's have a look-see. Pretty well packaged. Ooh, so it's got some like flex in it, but I kind of like this be the jumper. It's basically just a plain cream sort of turtleneck, but like a crew neck sort of jumper, like slightly higher than like a regular one, like, you know, when it kind of sits around here with a bit of thickness. But I am quite happy. I've decided to get like an oversized. I was going for like a Rory Gilmore moment, you know, because I've got two that I currently have. One's like extra large and one's like a roll neck, and I feel like I could just condense them into one that I could just wear all the time. So I'll try this on and update in a brief second. Let's see. Okay, so this is the jumper. Like I said, I'm wearing like a shirt underneath, but this is a size 12. Usually I'm a size 8, but I wanted an oversized. But then I also it kind of works, but it's not quite as oversized. Like, I wanted this, specifically this band, to be like really loose and floppy, but I think, like, you know, if I like kind of tuck this in, I think it's giving cute vibes. I don't know. I need to actually look in the mirror and see it, because all I can see is this tiny little camera. So, but yeah, I think it's cute. I think it's a win. Hey, baby boy. But yes, please ignore the mess in the background. I literally just got in from work and I was so excited that I needed to unbox this. So yeah, I'll update on books in a little bit. Hello again. It is a few minutes later. I literally had an outfit change now. I feel like I'm just going to stay in this for the rest of the evening because it's actually really, really nice. I feel like it's growing on me already, but one of the oversized cable knit vibes, and it's 100% wool. I'm pleased. No microplastics for me, thank you. She says, eating literally out of plastic in a minute, but we all do what we can. Anyway, I thought I would give you an update on the books I've been reading whilst also cooking my dinner, which today is Irish style coddles, sausage and potato stew. I actually didn't pick any of the recipes this week because I forgot, and then I also signed up for HelloFresh in the same week and forgot to cancel the Gusto, so now I've got 6 meals coming for this week, but it's fine. Anyway, I will take you through what I've been reading whilst we cut some leeks. I am probably like 75% of the way through Onyx Storm now. It's been a little while since I actually updated you on that, just because I've been to work and back a few times, and after I get in from work I'm usually just like absolutely exhausted. So yeah, I haven't been keeping really on top of that, but I'm about 75% of the way through. I feel like we're entering the final act, and actually I'm surprisingly really enjoying it. I'm just gonna angle you up a little bit. That's a bit better. I'm actually surprisingly really, really enjoying it. So sorry about what you're about to see. I'm gonna have to squeeze the sausage meat out of the skin and put it in the pan. So if you catch me being freaky, that's what's happening. Yeah, I'm about 75% of the way through and I'm really, really enjoying it actually. A lot more than I was anticipating, especially based on how I felt about the second book, Iron Flame. I really feel like she's kind of resolved a lot of the pacing issues that she's had. I feel like the characters are a lot more fleshed out and are not like less annoying. Like the angst feels genuine and it feels like valid in the situation that they're in. I do think it's definitely a marked improvement on the second book, and it feels more like the first book in just like general vibes and like kind of storytelling. And there are still some irritating elements, as always. Overall, I'm actually having a really, really good time with it. And I'm kind of flying through it as well, which is nice. Because on the other hand, I am only about 150 pages into Valor by John Gwynne, and I am enjoying it. I am enjoying it probably more than I was enjoying the first half of Malice when I read that. Yeah, which took me, like I said, it took me like almost a month to get through just the first half of Malice when I first read that, so it was so going. But I am picking up, sorry, all you can hear is like sizzling of sausage meat, I do apologise. Yeah, I am working my way through that, and that is also really good and enjoyable so far. I do think John Gwynne has a sort of masterful way of getting the ball rolling, and like, it's a bit like a snowball effect, you know? It starts off really slow and you're kind of meandering, and then suddenly you're going down the hill, it's getting faster and faster, and all the bits of plot are picking up and all the characters are merging, and suddenly everything's out of control, and really intense. That is kind of what he's doing, and I feel like he's going to do the same sort of thing again with this one, except we're already on a bit of a roll to start the book. So yeah, I've been really enjoying that. I'm going to go wash my sausage fingers and give you probably a more thorough, in-depth update in a couple of days, or when I've finished on a storm. So I will see you soon. The onions are getting me. Oh. Looks gross. Tastes delicious. Hi again. It is the next day. I have read a little bit more of both of my books, but I just wanted to come on and give you a more coherent update on the books that I've been reading recently, because I feel like yesterday when I was cooking, I was just, girl's brain could not be in two places at once. Apparently I cannot shuck a sausage at the same time as giving any sort of coherent thought on books. So I'm here to give you a better update than what I gave you yesterday. So Onyx Storm, we'll start with that, because I totally forgot to mention yesterday that one of the things that has kind of been bothering me a little bit is that I am listening to this book on audiobook, and I didn't listen to the first one on audiobook. I read that physically, but then I listened to the second one on audiobook when I was in Bournemouth last year, and I don't know whether they've got a new narrator or anything. I need to double check that. For some reason, the audiobook narrator this time is grating on me. I am actually pretty easy with pretty much all audiobooks now. I can get away with some irritating voices. I can even get past Americans narrating fantasy books, which kind of gives me the fear a little bit. I don't know why. I feel like you're in a medieval setting and you're like, hey y'all, what's going on? Sorry, Americans, but what is going on with that? I've kind of got past that, but my issue with this one specifically is that I feel like she is overacting every single section. Not only does she have a very whiny voice in any case, I'm so sorry to whoever is narrating it, but they are doing a good job of portraying certain scenes and portraying like the pace and the tension of certain scenes, but I feel like it's overacting. Like sometimes I just want, I think there's a very fine balance for me in audiobooks between being totally flat and monotone and really just like zoning out, like taking liberties with the text and like over enunciating putting so much emphasis on certain bits, and I feel like she's kind of doing that, and it is kind of bothering me a little bit. I don't necessarily think it's affecting the reading experience too much. I think at the start it was, but now that I'm a bit more into it and a bit more used to it, I am less bothered by it. But at the start I was like, oh my god, girly, pipe down, please calm down. Like, it's like that there'll be like the tiniest little skirmish, it'll be like, and I'm like, whoa, like, pipe down, my girl. And also the voice that she gives Zayd in, especially on 2.5 times speed, is questionable. If a man actually sound like that, like, get him a lozenge. Get him a lozenge. Like, what is going on? So yeah, I am enjoying it. Basically, if you don't know about Fourth Wing, which rock you're living under, I would like to live there too, because I think it'd be quite peaceful. In this third book, we are seeking, again, I'm trying to spoil too much, but we are seeking another type of dragon, and they are traveling between islands, and there are some characters who are kind of wrestling with a growing power within them that is threatening to consume not only them but the entire land, and it is building on the tension quite well. I think the annoying character dynamics that kind of existed in the second book, where they were very whining, that was like, do we trust each other, do we not, like, that has passed, and it has become more of an actual issue that is based within the power dynamics of this spoilery thing that I can't talk about. I do think that's definitely improved. I think the writing's improved as well. I feel like she has listened to her editor or got an editor for the second one, because good god, that second one was so long for no reason. And I feel like this one is much more concise, and the pace is like pretty consistent. It nicely keeps you on your toes, you know what I mean? So I am really, really enjoying it so far. I've actually not got much left. I might either finish it today or tomorrow, I think. So I will give you a final update when it comes to that. But yeah, it's been actually really good so far. I'm actually really liking the characters. I'm glad some of the other side characters are getting a bit more fleshed out, because a lot of them were kind of cardboard cutouts, and some of them still are, to be fair, but it is getting a bit better, I think, and I am quite enjoying it, because I, like I said, can just enjoy stuff for a fun time. I don't need anything to be literary mastery to give it a fairly high rating. So I think this will be probably a win for me, because it is, like I said, it's much improved, and it is much more in line with the first book in terms of the construction and the story and the pace and the characters, which I do enjoy again. And the other book I am reading, and I've read another 50 pages of as of last night, I'm on about page 200 now, is Vala, which is the second book in the Malice or the Faithful and the Fallen trilogy, no, saga? 4 books quartet by John Gwynne. And again, this is still really good. It is keeping a much faster, kind of much more tension-filled pace than the previous book. I mentioned this in the last clip. The snowball is definitely rolling. We are running down the hill. Okay, I don't want to spoil anything, but there is a certain character who is related to one of the main characters. Again, I can't say because it's like it's a spoiler from the first book. It's very much a cliffhanger as well. But I am a bit concerned for them, because they are left very alone in a very precarious situation, where there are lots of people around them who are very invested in them and their family and what has happened to them, and they have been like left alone. Their family, etc., don't know that they are still there, and it's quite stressful for them. I'm a little bit tense every time a man is near them. Basically, if you know who I'm talking about, you know who I'm talking about. But aside from that, it has been pretty good. We follow in the first one Corban as the main character, as well as a slew of other characters, and it's basically a kind of saga of the battle between light and dark. In this case, Azeroth and Eloin. I don't know if I'm saying that right. I'll have to double check at some point. And basically there are 2 prophesized warriors, the Bright Sun and the Black Star. Wait, I think I got that the wrong way around. The Black Sun and the Bright Star? There are 2 main characters in this who could potentially be either, and I think it's quite interesting to see the sort of development in terms of which way each of them are going. I mean, I think it's quite clear currently which way they're going, but it would be a bit of a crazy twist if it turned out to be the other way around. So we'll see what John Gwynne does with it, because I really, really enjoyed his other trilogy, which I finished recently, and obviously this is his first series, so I do think there's a lot of improvement from this series to the next one so far, in terms of just like the concision in the writing and the overall sort of trimming of the characters down a little bit, while still having that expansive cast, because currently there are quite a few names and there are quite a few characters who are very similar and they're in quite similar situations, so it is quite confusing, and I do have to keep referring back to the character list, which is something I don't usually have to do. So yeah, I am enjoying it. At about 200 pages in, this will probably be my main physical book for this vlog. After I finish Onyx Storm, I will probably start another audiobook, and I'll keep you updated on that, and then I'll probably read like 3 books for this vlog and keep it going until I've finished Bala. But yes, aside from that, I am off at work today, actually finishing a piece that I think I showed you in the other vlog, me drawing it. They came in and they could only get the big lines done, unfortunately, before they got very sore and tapped out. So I will be hopefully finishing the rest of it today. We'll see how we go, because they did struggle with the placement a little bit. So yeah, we will see how we go with that. I am rock climbing tomorrow, I think, or tonight. So I'll probably take you along with me for that as well. And yeah, I will also be doing archery again on the Saturday. So lots of fun things ahead this week. I'm excited to show you. Hello, back from work, and I picked up another vintage parcel on the way home. So this is another 100% wool jumper. I'm not actually sure which one this is, but I'll find out. Ooh, ooh, it's some nice colours. Ooh, vibes. What do we think? What do we think? Oh, this is going to be so cute. I love the colours. I love the pattern. Yeah, like I said, it's 100% wool, this one. This is a country collection in a size large, because I love an oversized moment, as you can probably tell from this. But yes, 100% wool as well, which is what we are after. There you go. All real wool, 100%. Slowly but surely making the change from synthetic, nasty like polyester and, you know, nylon, hello little boy, materials for jumpers into like full natural fibres. I think I'm probably going to eventually do the same thing, just get rid of all polyester in my wardrobe. I don't want to throw it out. I will be like donating and reselling, but I just personally don't like to wear it anymore. It makes me feel sweaty, it makes me feel gross, and I have like absolutely shocking body temperature regulation anyway, and natural fibres help with that. So I'm going to quickly try this on. And oh, okay, I'm so glad I got a large, because this is actually like not really very oversized at all, to be honest. And like I'm not a large usually, like I said, I'm usually like a small, but this is so cute, and I think like tucked in, little like half tuck moment. Do you like it, Odie? Do you like it, little boy? What do you think? The sleeves are a little bit short. I don't know if you can see that, but like I feel like they're exposing a bit of my wrist, but it's so cute. I am very pleased. I've got one more to come, so you'll probably see that in this vlog as well. For some reason they've all come on separate days. I'm getting like one a day, but yes, I will see you soon.
Right foot on the next toe, left foot. Yeah. And the next one up. On the next one, last
I think it's just set up like that. Down he comes. Quick little, very breezy, lovely fringe plotting here. Update. I am just out on the walk with the dog right now, and I don't know if you can see behind me, but those clouds, they are chasing me. I feel like I'm about to get dunked on, so there you go, little boy. We gotta outrun the rain. We gotta outrun the rain. I'm back. I am freshly laundered and no longer soggy. Well, I mean, I am still a little bit soggy, but in like a clean way, not in a just drenched in a muddy downpour way. I have to sit down, do a little bit of editing, do a little bit of updating of my like work spreadsheets and stuff like that, and also update my reading journal because I have just finished Onyx Storm by Rebecca Yarros. So obviously I can't talk too much about this in detail with it being the third book in the series, and obviously it is super highly anticipated release and I don't expect everyone's read it yet, so I won't go into too many spoilers just now, but I probably will have like a little bit of a spoiler section after this because there are some theories that I've got and I want to talk about. So first things first, this is the third book in the Fourth Wing or Imperium series. It's not, you know, a modern classic despite how well it's sold. It is a lot of fun and I really do find myself enjoying it when I'm sinking into it. This book I actually really loved. I really loved the character dynamics, especially between the dragons and their riders. And although I think that fell off a little bit in the second book, especially between the main character and the main love interest that really just drove me insane the entire second book, I really think Rebecca Yarros has brought it back around for the third book, and that improvement was so clear to me in how easily I fell back into this world and story and how much more invested I was in the world building, what the characters were doing, and in their relationships as well. Specifically with the main love interest as well, because like I said, in the second book they were so irritating. They had so much useless conflict. It was like miscommunications or, oh, I can't trust you, like I couldn't have... I was over it. I was so over it after about the first 100 pages, and that was like a 700 page book or something. It was much shorter and much snappier than the previous installment, which I actually quite liked, because I feel like it kept the pace really fresh and really progressing through the plot. I also feel like she's expanded the world a lot more, as well as different signets and different magic wielding and what could be done with those. And also it's kind of starting to develop into how gods and the gods of this world could play into the role. I think in the first couple of books they didn't have too much of a sort of stake in the world and in the plot, but I like the direction that Rebecca Yarros is going with that, and I'm excited to see what she does in the coming installments. I actually don't know how many books this is going to be. Does anybody know? Please let me know if you do, because I have no idea. Is it going to be like Throne of Glass? Is it going to be like 7 or something? I don't know, but I am actually really enjoying it, and now I have to wait till probably like May next year, people are estimating, for the next one, which did leave on quite a bit of a cliffhanger too, so I'm going to be sitting here like chomping at the bit a little bit, which I didn't honestly expect to be fair. I was, after the second book, even debating like DNFing the series. Like I wasn't in on the hype. I was like, I could take it or leave it. But this book has actually really solidified this as a very fun, fast-paced, new adult fantasy romance, and I'm really, really enjoying it. I kind of put it in line currently with the sort of Lady of Darkness series. It's not quite Throne of Glass level for me personally, nor is it ACOTAR level in terms of like my personal enjoyment. Again, I know none of these books are necessarily the best written things ever, but like I said, I can enjoy a super well written, super dense, high epic adult fantasy, and I can also enjoy a romantasy like this. So I really had a fun time with it. And I think now I'm going to go into like a little bit of a spoiler section for those who have read it. So I'll mute or skip ahead until you see this little spoiler sign go away. But theories, my guys. So who do we think has turned? Because personally, I'm kind of torn between... I feel like the obvious choice is probably Riddick, but the other choice is perhaps Brennan. Is anybody else sensing this? I don't know. I feel like both of them have felt a little bit like sidetracked. I felt a little bit like shunted to the side in this installment, and a little bit sort of, I don't want to say like let down, but a little bit like perhaps a little bit confused as to what their personal direction is in how this war will play out. And yeah, I don't know. I feel like it's definitely, I really feel like it's going to be either Brennan and Bodhi. Did I say Riddick before? I meant to say Bodhi. Brennan or Bodhi, I think it's one of them. I don't know what's happened to Riddick either, but I really loved his scene where he froze the dragons inside. I was like, yes, I'm so glad we got that. It was hinted at early in the book and I was like, finally, we're getting that. Also, another theory, in terms of sort of balancing of the powers, obviously a lot of the time it's either the same power or it's like almost like an opposing power that can counteract the power on the venom side versus the natural side. And part of me is like, if it was Brennan, would that not make sense for Violet? Because Violet has the most lethal power, whereas Brennan has healing. So, I mean, if he could be on the other side, that could be wacky. I don't know. What is Violet's new signet in terms of like its entire expanse? Obviously, we know she dreamwalks, but like, can she manipulate people's realities? Like, can she take it outside of dreams? Is it just in the waking? I don't know. Much to think about, much to consider. And we have about a year and a half to go until we can actually find out any answers, which is a bit annoying. But spoilers are over now, but I really, really hope that she keeps up with the pacing and the actually pretty well done editing and writing, actually. I was quite surprised there were some scenes and some little lines I was like, oh, okay, you kind of went hard with that one. Like, she went off a little bit. I am really excited to have been done with that, and I'm going to update my reading journal now. And then I got to decide which audiobook to read next, because that was my last audiobook. So let's have a little look-see. I'll probably take you through and have a little look-see at my options for what I'm going to read after this. So I'm about to choose another audiobook to read, and I am really struggling. So I use typically Audible and Everand kind of tangentially. Each swapped to Audible in their yearly subscription, so I think I have like 17 credits or something ridiculous on Audible right now. And Everand, obviously, it's supposedly unlimited, but it always has like an actual monthly limit. So I think we'll have a look at Everand first, because I like to see what's available on there, as it is quote unquote free. Ooh, you can see my rating for Onyx Storm here. I actually give it a 4.5, but these are the stuff that I've got saved currently. This is not downloaded, but then I tend to pick like a couple that I'll download all at once, and then they will be like my immediate sort of audiobook TBR. I do like to try and occasionally get stuff that I have on my physical TBR on audiobook, because if I don't do that, then I just read a ton of audiobooks and then my physical TBR gets absolutely no dent taken out of it. So, but then I also do like to read and experiment with new stuff that I'm not 100% sure that I'm going to love before I buy it. So, for example, Annihilation is an example of this, where obviously a lot of people love this series. It's Jeff Vandermeer, it's one of his most favourite series. But I have seen the film and I thought it was okay. Although I do think the book would play better in that format, so perhaps we could give this a go, because I am very much in the mood for sci-fi at the moment and sort of speculative fiction. Got The Language of Dragons, which was the Fairy Loot adult pick for January, I think. Got Dragon Rider, Born. This could be a good shout as well, because this is just a standalone by Jeff Vandermeer. So this could kind of give me a bit of an insight into his writing style and whether I think the whole Annihilation series would be for me or not. I've got some novellas here. It's a little novellas. Ooh, I've got Heavenly Tyrant. So I have just finished recently the first one, Iron Widow. So this is definitely going to be picked up in the near future. I don't know whether I'm going to pick it up this month. I don't know whether it's going to be directly next, because I feel like I need to take 5 minutes away from it. But let's just have a keep scrolling. Oh, The Crimson Moth. I have heard really good things about this, and the second one comes out very soon. Also, I do have it physically, but then I also did just finish a romantasy, so I think, I don't know, maybe I'm in the mood for something a little bit more serious. Oh, I'm excited to read all of these. I kind of saving this for spooky season. I have this entire series saved. One of the few Tea Kingfishers I haven't read. I do want to get to this whole series this year. Lots of romantasy here as well. I will be doing a Hunger Games reread soon, and maybe I'll read this on audio. Ooh, now this is a choice. I do really, really want to read this, and I just kind of feel like the current state of the world right now, we need to be reading fiction like this, because in reality, she has reflected both current and past history straight back at us with a horribly accurate mirror. I definitely think I'm going to download this one. I think this is definitely going to be one of our options. So this is Parable of the Sower, and it is set in a world our world in 2020, 2025-ish, so right now, where California is on fire because of wildfires and the climate apocalypse, fascism is on the rise, humans are en masse lacking empathy, and the world is basically just falling apart. We're border of societal collapse, and this main character decides to set up her own religion, and we explore what that means, how she navigates this new world and this new reality that she's living in. So yes, I am definitely keeping this as an option. I really want to read this, even though I was not a Nickelodeon child. I think I remember a lot of what is down the bottom here on my save. I have a lot of saved, can you tell? So I'm not really fancy. Oh, I mean, to be fair, My Dark Vanessa, I do also really, really want to read this. I think this is quite an important one and also would kind of get me in the sort of serious vibes. I'm going to download this too, just so that it's on hand in case I change my mind between Parable of the Sower. But currently, Parable of the Sower is definitely the front runner. I think I might, after that, pick up The Language of Dragons and then kind of break it up in between, because I am really excited to read this, and the cover is gorgeous. So let's now have a little look-see at Audible. I do want to have a look at reading more non-fiction through Audible in the future, so I do have some of that saved. But I think my issue is with Audible is that they don't really give me the best recommendations. Like, I have read this, to be fair, but like, these are my recommendations. Obviously, I can get this on elsewhere. I've read this. Like, it doesn't know how much I've read. But yeah, I don't know. Oh, to be fair, Where the Dark Stand Still, I think I do have this in my wish list. Yeah, it's in my wish list. So I do really, really want to read this, and I've heard really good things, but the UK cover is a little bit ugly, especially in comparison to the US cover. So that could be a good one to pick up on audiobook. Oh, I do have this on KU as well, which I will be reading very soon. Oh gosh. Yeah, don't look at my purchase history. So let's have a look at the wish list now. I've got some choices here. I've got some good choices. Let's Juliette Marillier. I've got a lot of these physically bought, so I do. As you can see, I was kind of moving more towards sort of literary, speculative, and historical and non-fiction in my recent adds to the wish list here. I really, really do want to read Braiding Sweetgrass. I will be doing that soon. I just don't know whether I'm fancying it right now or whether I kind of want to wait to spring a little bit. Oh, Empire of Silence. I really want to listen to that. Oh, Blood Over Brighthaven. I really, really, really want to get to this very soon, but I can't decide whether I want to read it physically or on audio, so it's stressing me out. It's stressing me out. Oh, Spark of the Other Flame, I do have this on KU as well, so I think it would be a bit pointless to spend an Audible credit on it. Oh, I could continue with Wheel of Time, or we could just let that rot. I feel like I might just let it rot. Oh, so many choices. Are the daily struggles. I'm so indecisive, and I really get like decision paralysis where there's just too many choices, too many options, and I cannot decide for the life of me what to prioritize. So I will update you when I have in fact decided. I'll probably end up deciding tomorrow morning as I get in the car. I'll sit down and I'll be like, right, this is where I choose. This is the time. It's time for the final jumper that I ordered from Vinted and another little unboxing. So let's have a look-see. This one's like a Nordic, fully 100% wool black and white one, I think. Oh, it's like a pattern guy. Ooh, I can see it's got a little stain on it, but hopefully that could come out and it's not in a super obvious place. But let's just step back. Again, oversized, classic, but I don't know if you can see that, but it's like a nice, like, snowflakey pattern. Very much like a ski jumper almost. It smells nice as well, so whoever's had it before has washed it, so let's give it a little try on. What do we think? I need to check in the mirror first before I actually give any opinions. It's pretty funky, isn't it? I really like it. I actually have like a black and white version of this sort of thing. So it's like, it's like bigger snowflakes and it's all black with like white little bits rather than the other way around, which I have worn to death over the mini winters and Christmas periods. And yeah, I just thought this and I was like, well, it's kind of similar vibes, and it's chunky, it's oversized, and it's 100% wool and natural fibers. So yes, I think honestly all four of these jumpers that I've got wins all around. This one does make me feel like a little bit of a frump, but I think I would have to definitely do like a sort of tuck in situation, you know, with like a nice pair of mum jeans. I think that'll be very cute. So I always say skinny bottom, big top, or skinny top, big bottom, you know? You gotta balance it out. You gotta balance out the figure. Hello. I am currently being lay on by the beast, and I have actually taken a few days off from this vlog. I have just been so tired. I've actually been really busy as well, and I've done lots of fun things, but I just think I've been so tumultuous and just so exhausted. It was basically like it was the end of Thomas's half term, and I tend to take time off at the same time that he takes time off. So for me, it was also the end of like my half term of tattooing, if you will. So I think I've just been really run down and really sleepy and really tired, and I just could not be bothered to chat to anyone or do any sort of messaging. But we're back. I honestly haven't even done that much reading either, which is a little bit sad, because I feel like a lot of people, when they get loads of time off, they like read loads, and for some reason I've just really tried to like cram my days so full that it gets in them and I'm just like, I'll read a chapter, and then I'm like time to sleep. Here to update you under this very bright light, because like I said, I am nothing but a glorified pillow, aren't I, Oti? My baby. I have been reading Vala by John Gwynne, and I am actually really enjoying it. I am still enjoying it just as much as I was pretty much enjoying it before. Honestly, like I said, because it's a sequel, there's not too much I can actually update you on. However, I am enjoying, there is like a certain relationship which I think I can see developing between Varadis and another character who is kind of a spoiler if you haven't read the first book, so I'm just going to leave that as it is. If you know, you know. And I don't know, I feel like I could maybe see them together. And the character with whom he is developing a bit of a relationship with, part of me's like, are you maybe gonna get like a slight villain arc? I don't know, because she's very headstrong and she cares so much about her family and the people in her life. However, I don't know, I could see her kind of being manipulated and twisted a little bit potentially. I don't know. We'll see how that goes. That could just be me talking absolute bollocks, but I'm also really enjoying like Corban's continuing perspective. He's just acquired some pelts of a certain creature, and I'm quite intrigued to see what he does with them. I feel like he's going to kind of create this like sort of pack new ambience with all of the characters that are surrounding him as well, which will be fun. There's also another raven has been introduced. There was a crow character that is like friends with one of the other main characters, Brina, and there is now a raven who has been kind of gifted to Adana. Is it Adana? Who is like a wayward queen currently. And I don't know, I'm just really enjoying the sort of like slow inclusion of all these magical elements. I'm enjoying seeing a bit more of the giants as well and hearing their backstories as well as their myths and legends, and getting a little bit more from them because I find them very interesting creatures, but I feel like we don't see too much from their perspective this far into the series. But it is very much a war between giants and two gods and men, so I'm assuming we're going to get more and more of it as it goes on. We did see some giant children at some point as well, which was interesting. Yes, I am really enjoying it. I get the sense that there's a collection of mythical objects in this world, which I get the sense are going to be brought together over the series. And so far, I feel like they haven't done much of this collecting. And like, they are very separate. We've only really seen one, maybe two in this entire series so far. I say entire series so far, I'm on the second book, but in, you know, the 1,000 pages that I've read so far of this series. So it will be quite interesting to see how they somehow manage to bring them all into the fray for the final book, which I'm assuming they're all going to feature in. So there's like a battle axe and like a cauldron and stuff like that. And like I said, I think they're all going to play a crucial role. I'm just curious to see how much of a role they're actually going to play, because I do love a mythical magical weapon. But aside from that, still enjoying it. I've got about 200 pages left, and I am excited to finish that, and I'll probably update you when I do that. In other news, I also started Parable of the Sower. I did decide to go with Parable of the Sower on audiobook, and honestly, I'm actually almost done. I think I've got like 2 hours left of the audiobook. I get through audiobooks so fast because every time I drive to the gym or commute, I'm whacking it on and I listen on 2.5 times speed. So I actually read equal amounts of audiobooks and physical books last year for the first time, and maybe this year I might read more. I am trying to keep up with physical as well, because obviously I used to read a ton of physical books. I read 100 plus books in a year when I was at uni, and that was mostly, I think I only read like 4 audiobooks or something, and now I feel like it's like 50-50, and I don't mind that because audiobooks are totally valid reading, and that is a whole rant I could have at some point. But it is also very much a sense of like I do want to make the time for myself to sit down and physically engage with the script. I mean, I am doing that when I'm listening to the audiobook, but for me, it's about taking the time away from my phone and just like actually carving out that chunk of time in the day to sit and read physically. I really enjoy, and I don't want to allow myself to slip further and further away from that as I am getting busier and busier in life and with my job. But also with the job that I do, my eyes get really tired by the end of the day, so often I'm just very much like, oh, sleepy time. But yes, anyway, Parable of the Sower. I am really, really enjoying it so far. It is very dark, lots of trigger warnings, definitely look them up, but it is kind of scary as well because it is set between 2024 and currently 2027. I think it might extend a bit further on to that. And we are following a young woman who is kind of on the cusp of adulthood, and she lives in a world very similar and reflective of ours. This was written in 1991, but it's set in this time, and California is on fire. There are wildfires everywhere. People are, and there's drugs that are really rampant on the black market. There's swaths of homeless and extremely poor people who are not being cared for by their government. The police and fire departments have become like a sort of paid for system. They're extremely corrupt. Thieves, criminals are absolutely rampant. No one can feed themselves. There is a climate catastrophe that is happening simultaneously to all this. Certain states have like boarded themselves off. The president seems to just not be doing anything. It's kind of, it's hitting. It's hitting for 2025. And yeah, it is really, really good though. It's a really interesting reflection on not only the flaws of society currently, but also the flaws of how we allowed this system to get to this place in the first place, and how the lack of community and lack of both foresight and principles, like shared principles and morals, has kind of led to this situation. And our main character that we're following, she's an extremely intelligent girl. She is the daughter of a preacher, and she has kind of grown disillusioned with God, and she has observed the world and the people around her in this small community that which she lives in. It's a bit of a walled community in a walled neighborhood. They're not rich, but they're also not like the street poor. But she sees a darker future coming for her, and she wants to prepare. She wants to get like a backpack ready, like an emergency pack. Like she can very much see just with all the signs around her that this is not going to last, and this peaceful place that she is living in is not going to survive forever. And she's very much proved right slowly over time, and then all at once. And it just follows her as she grapples with religion and kind of creating her own religion as well. She observes everything around her, and she has decided that she believes in something different, and she is writing all this down in a book, as well as some poetry and just her reflections on life and the world around her. And as well as this, she's also an empath. She is physically harmed every time someone else is around her. She feels their pain. So if someone gets shot, she will feel like a gunshot, like a punch in the chest, and she will like collapse on the floor. Which in this world where it is very much like survival of the fittest, kill or be killed, like scavengers reign sort of situation, is very dangerous for her. But she's also kind of using it to her advantage because she knows what this pain feels like. So she can be quite cold and calculating, but also can be very, very empathetic because she is an empath. So she understands what people are going through, and she wants to be, although cautious, and although she sees how people are, she's not naive, she's not silly, she's not gonna, see a random begging man on the floor and think, ooh, let me just go give them all the money, because in this world that might lead her to get stabbed and robbed and etc. She's not stupid, but she is also very conscious of the pain that is going on in the world around her, and it's just so interesting. I understand why it's a modern classic. I'm definitely going to continue with the second one. I'm really, really enjoying it so far, but like I said, it's a little bit depressing because because of the world we currently live in. I feel like her sometimes, genuinely, because I feel like I sit here every day seeing the signs, and I have done for the past probably 5 to 7 years, just been looking around, being like, oh, this is gonna happen, and then this is gonna happen, and then this is gonna make this worse, and we are now like in the 10 stages that I had predicted in my own little brain upon observing the sort of political climate, the actual climate, 5-10 years ago. So it's really not fun, and I kind of relate to this character in the sense that no one kind of takes it seriously. She doesn't understand sometimes, especially when she starts in this small community. She doesn't understand why everyone else isn't seeing what she's seeing, and why she seems to be the only one who's actually doing any sort of preparation and education and like trying to prepare herself and like learn how to survive outside the world. Like she doesn't understand that, and yeah, I find that quite relatable, unfortunately. But yes, I will keep you updated on that. I definitely already can recommend everyone should be reading Parable of the Sower, especially now. It feels like it should be a banned book. In fact, it probably is a banned book in America. But yes, definitely give it a read because it is a sore and sorry reflection, and it's also obviously extremely diverse as well, Octavia E. But Octavia E. Butler is a black woman, and there's a lot of sort of mixed and interracial families as well in this, and that is also a big point in that it makes them more vulnerable. Police don't listen to them. It's got so many really intellectual and really clever discussions whilst being actually really accessible in its writing style as well. So definitely recommend that. And I think we're going to go on a big walk tomorrow, so I'll probably keep you updated and show you some footage from that if I can. And then I'm going to watch Dune Part 2 with my mum, because she hasn't seen it before, and we're going to see Hans Zimmer in concert later this year, so I feel like she needs to know. She needs to know there. This random person's house.
Oh, look at them. You must all just live in there.
And the little ducks
Where they're going.
waddling away. Can anybody see this pure white pheasant? That's crazy. Please excuse the horrendous mess in the background, but I actually forgot to do a little update the other day because I did break my book buying ban. I did only spend money on, I had like Watson's gift cards from Christmas, so I did only spend money on that, but I got 2 novellas because I'm really trying to get a little bit more into sci-fi, and I do just love a sci-fi novella. So obviously everyone pretty much knows what this is now. This is How You Lose the Time War. This is between 2 women or people, I'm actually not sure whether any of them go by they them, and are fighting against each other on opposite sides of this time war, but fall in love along the way. And also I picked up this, which is an Ursula K. Le Guin novella, and just look at this cover. I love it. And the word for world is forest is such a, like, I don't know, feels like such a me feels like such a me title and such a me premise. And I've just heard really good things, and I've never actually read an Ursula K. Le Guin, so I feel like that needs to change. So I broke my book buying ban, but they're 2 novellas, and they should be smashed through pretty quickly. They're not exactly going to make a huge dent on the TBR like a 700-page fantasy book would, so excited for these. Hello, it's a little bit later, and I totally forgot to mention that I actually started getting tattoo removal today. So I only got the patch test, but I really feel like it's something I need to update you on because, oh my god, it hurts so badly. I only have 1 tattoo that I really definitely will be wanting removed. It's the only tattoo that I actually don't like on myself. There's a couple other tattoos that I have that I really like the tattoos, but I just don't like the placement now as a tattoo artist. They kind of bother me. Now I'm knowing like what could go there instead. But this one is just badly done. It's not what I wanted. It never was what I wanted as well. Some branches on my ribs. So much. I had like 5 seconds of it done. It was like this long, and I have a pretty tough constitution. Like, Thomas, would you say I've got a pretty tough constitution?
Yes.
That was a yes from next door if you didn't hear that. Well, like, I'm pretty strong. Like, I'm pretty good with pain if I do say so myself. And this was horrible. So horrible. And it was literally like 5 seconds. And apparently the actual procedure for the entire tattoo is only going to be about 30 seconds, but look at it. I don't know whether you can see that at all. See if that focuses, but can you see? It's so bad. Oh my gosh. So I'm booked in for the full session next week, and now I think I'm gonna have to get a numbing cream because I was literally like this after like 3 seconds. It really hurt. It feels literally like hot oil being like constantly splashed on you. And that's just one of my least favourite feelings, to be honest. So we'll keep you updated on that because that was brutal. Like, it was really brutal. And also it's very expensive. So I also don't want you guys to think that I'm getting this tattoo removed because like I regret getting a tattoo there. I'm actually getting this removed so I can get it covered by bigger, better pieces. Like, it's not the tattoo necessarily that I regret. It is the placement, it is the person I went to, and it's the quality of it. And if I had just got what I originally wanted from the kind of artist that I originally wanted but couldn't actually afford or get to at that time, then I would not be getting this removal right now, and I would still probably love the tattoo. I think some people get very scared of getting tattoos because they think they're going to regret it. And honestly, if you put forethought into it, and I mean, I even say that, to be honest. And a lot of the tattoos I have, I just have for funsies, and that's fine. That is fine. You can get a tattoo and not have any meaning. But I just cannot more strongly recommend looking up your artist, getting the research done, not going to someone who's going to blow out lines and do X, Y, Z and make it look horrible, because that is what I am left with. And it kind of sucks. It really does suck when you happen to remove it, because all my other tattoos are really lovely quality, and it really makes it stand out when you've got one that just is atrocious. So I do definitely think, although tattoo removal is an option now, which is again another reason why, you know, you can get tattoos and not have to even worry necessarily about regret these days. However, it does hurt. It really hurts. It sucks. So recommend trying not to get a tattoo that you regret. Don't be worried about that. Most people don't regret the tattoos that they get, or if they do, it is because of the reasons I listed before. So yes, I don't regret any of my other tattoos. Like I said, it is literally the quality, the placement, and the artist I went to. And if you do your research properly, then you shouldn't really regret any of your tattoos, especially if your artist has listened to your design qualms. Like, there's so many things. Like, if you go to a professional who listens and understands you and gets your vibe, and you will not be disappointed, I promise. But yes, don't recommend tattoo removal for anyone because it sucks. Hello. We are just about to go out on a walk to Wallington, which is like a national trust that is local to me and Thomas-ish. We're going to take the boy, who's going to have a very fun time. Please ignore all the crap that is littered across my room at all times. And I also just wanted to jump on here quickly and say that I have finished Parable of the Sower. I'll give like a proper update later, but I really enjoyed it. Although it has made me very existential, and I feel like I need to collect and condense my thoughts to give you a reasonable summary of how I felt about the book, but also how it made me feel about the world as it is right now. But for now, I'm gonna go touch some grass, touch some trees, and look at some snowdrops, because apparently there's lots of snowdrops, and I'm very excited because they're my favourite flower. Yes, we're going! Oh my gosh. It feels like Jurassic Park. Little outfit of the day. I don't know why this is angling so strange right now. We're going to Wellington? We're going to Wellington? Gonna go on walkies. Oh.
Do you want talking over it, or will you just be putting this on?
Freshly got yesterday. I know as soon as I start talking right now, the boy is probably going to come over and sit on my lap, so apologies. Oh. Here he comes. Here he comes. No, not my camera, no. Best to sit on us. Hello, little boy. Hello. Oh, thank you. I am here to wrap up this reading vlog and talk about the 3 books that I have finished in this here vlog. I'll try and make this fairly brief because I'm pretty sure this video is probably going to be like 2 hours long, and literally no one cares enough to listen to me ramble for that long, I'm sure. But the first book I finished, hello, yes, I know you want to play with me. I know. This is what I have to deal with. This is the clinginess of this dog. So the first book that I finished was none other than Onyx Storm, the highly anticipated 3rd book in the Imperium saga, I guess, like series? I don't know, by Rebecca Yarros. Unless you've been living under a rock, you know what the series is about. I've already summarised it a couple times in this, I think, but this 3rd installment, I have been reading some reviews since this has come out and since I've finished it, and I really feel like I'm the odd one out. This has a lower rating on Goodreads than the 2nd book, Iron Flame. I'm sorry, were we reading the same book? Because Iron Flame was shockingly bad, in my opinion. Well, that's maybe a little bit harsh, but... Well, shockingly bad's maybe a little bit harsh. I know! Little boy! Please let me do my update. And I just feel like I'm really the odd one out here, because to me, Iron Flame was pretty shockingly bad in terms of pacing, the characterization, the interdynamics between the characters as well, the lack of plot coherence. Like, there was so much wrong with Iron Flame for me. Like, it was still kind of a fun, rompy time, but I was left really disappointed with that. I can't actually remember my rating, but I think I gave it like 2.5 or 3 stars. As this, I actually gave a 4.5, whereas I feel like in this she kind of solved all of her plot pacing issues. She actually had a plot in this one, which I found quite interesting. I liked seeing the world building be expanded and visiting all these other islands, seeing the other cultures that could come into play later on. It was a little bit gimmicky and a little bit like play-by-play sense that I feel like we were being set up step by step to introduce all these people and all these different gods and all these different cultures. Quite a concise, which I appreciated given the length of Iron Flame versus this, because honestly, I feel like she needs a little bit of concision. Like, it's not a high epic fantasy. It is a fantasy romance at the end of the day, and I appreciate really solid fantasy world building in a romantasy. I think for me, that's actually a requirement for it to be readable or enjoyable at all. But I also don't need it to be like John Gwynne, Robin Hobb level. And I feel like she actually did that with a concision that was enjoyable to read, and I didn't find myself bored or slogging at any point, to be honest. I did find myself quite engaged, and I was invested in Andana's story as well, and her trying to find a family. I think Xaden and Violet's relationship and their dynamic was much improved on the last book as well, even though it was still that like, oh, like they have to kind of keep away from each other. Like, I think it was much more believable in this one for the reasoning behind that, and it still gave you a reason to want to root for them and want them to be together. So yeah, overall, I just really much preferred this to Iron Flame, and I feel like I'm really the odd one out. So many people really roasting this book in comparison to the second one. I just don't get that at all. I honestly think a lot of people have basically come to the conclusion that maybe this entire series, including the first one, is not actually as good as they originally thought it was when they first read it. And they have seen probably a lot more critical analysis by other booktubers and other people who have read this and been like, guys, it's not really that good. It's not like, it doesn't deserve all this literary acclaim that it's getting and has had. Maybe read it with a little bit more critical thought. And I think they're being exposed to that and now going back to it and being like, oh yeah, these people are right, and it's then taking their rating down. I feel like that is probably what has happened. But like I said, for me, I am happy to enjoy a fun time. Like, I can read books critically, but I went into this entire series knowing it was not a book series that I was going to read super critically and that I was going to be in it for a fun time. And for me, this delivered on that. And although, yes, I can still point out its flaws, for me, I rate on the way I feel coming out of the book, on whether I was invested. This 4.5 rating kind of comes from a combination of me actually just enjoying my time, me thinking about wanting to get back to the book when I was away from it, me plotting and thinking ahead about like, oh, what's the plot gonna hold? What's gonna happen next? Like, that feeling of being like eager to get back to it and wanting to sink my teeth into it and being able to actually like think about the character dynamics and think about these people and think about this world outside and in my own world. I think that is what gave this a 4.5 star for me, because I did really enjoy it at the end of the day, and I think that that is fine. Even though I am apparently the only person in the world who thought this was decent, to be honest. I thought this was a fun installment in a fantasy romance series. I just think people have too high expectations, especially when they have since been hearing more critical analysis for this series as a whole and have probably reflected on their own reading of it and been like, maybe this wasn't that good in the first place. The next book that I finished was Parable of the Sower by Octavia E. Butler. Now, this was a total 180 from Onyx Storm, because this was an incredible dystopian sort of speculative fiction novel that honestly, I will probably even struggle to articulate to you how precisely laid out this story was, and how every detail and every circumstance, thought and proposition that she put forward in this novel was constructed and thought out and thought through by the author. It was immaculately put together and so well written. I think if you enjoyed The Road by Cormac McCarthy, you would probably enjoy this as well. I heard this far more to The Road, but I do think it shares quite a similar sort of bleakness, almost a similar writing style as well. I think the main character that we're following, it has a very blunt, sharp take on things. Although she is lyrical and she does have a sort of empathy in her prose, I do think it is very like short, quite snappy sentences with a directness that really cuts you to the core, especially with the topics that she's referring to. It is massive trigger warnings for the entire book. I would definitely recommend looking them up before you go into it, including SA, murder, cannibalism, like there's a lot. It's really awful, but it really truly is a reflection on how she thought society would devolve, and so much of it, you're here to bring the joy, aren't you? You're here to bring the joy. And unfortunately, I think you can't talk about reading this book in this current day and age without actually reflecting on this current day and age and the political systems and dynamics that we are seeing evolve in today's society. And she was right about so much in this book. For example, in this book, there is a climate crisis in which a lot of California is left to burn under wildfires that are both being started by, and there are huge swaths of homeless people and jobless people who simply cannot afford to or find any place to work. Communities are being torn apart. Scavenging has kind of become a natural cycle for anyone who is middle class or below. Only the upper class can really afford like this level of safety and this sort of security that is afforded to them. Something really scary, and a concept that she introduced in this is a concept that actually currently already happens in the American prison system, if you're familiar with that at all, and that is like indentured servitude, in which in this situation, rich oligarchs, tech giants, companies, large businesses will buy towns and offer safety and protection and room and board, in which they're paid either in money and company policy and indebted to that town and that company, and they are not allowed their own weapons or defense. They are controlled in their food and water usage, and it's basically modern day slavery. And a very similar system is actually currently occurring in American prison systems, and it is something I could unfortunately really see devolving and happening both in America and globally, especially with climate pressures and food scarcity becoming more and more of an issue. And overall, Octavia E. Butler really just hit the nail on the head, and her discussion of religion as well, and the truth that the main character saw around her in the world. I think at one point one of the characters asks, "So you made up this religion?" And she says, "No. If I place a rock in front of you and I tell you the rock is there, are you going to tell me that you don't believe that?" And the way she talks about how this religion is derived from what she experiences and what she feels and what she sees all around her, and says is truly such an insightful take on humanity. And I just really loved it. I really love this book. It wasn't perfect for me. I think there were a couple of bits that I would have liked to have seen explored in more depth, but I actually think some of these areas might be explored in the sequel, which is Parable of the Talents, which I will be getting to very soon. And this was just an absolutely fantastic read. I would highly recommend anyone to read it, especially right now, because it is set, like I said, in about 2024 to 2027. So a little bit scary. Make sure you're in the right mindset for it, but it was fantastic, and I could not recommend this enough. It is also one of the banned books currently on the lists in America, so even more reason to read it. Reading is power. And the final book that I read was Valor by John Gwynne. Obviously, I can't speak too much on this because it is a sequel again, just like Onyx Storm, but this is the second book in the Fatal and the Fallen series by John Gwynne, and wow, this really picked up the pace in comparison to the first book. I really, really enjoyed this. I think the first book I gave 3 stars because the first half was like a 1 star for me, but then the second half was like a 5 star, whereas this was kind of consistently between a 3 and a 5. It had dips and lulls. Certain characters who I absolutely loathe. Lycos? I hate that man. I hate that man. Oh, he was horrible. And I think that's a really powerful thing that an author can do, is make you be in someone's head and just like loathe your time being there. Feel sticky when you come out of their chapters from all the nasty, horrible things that they do. And they do that incredibly well in this. I think I loved seeing more perspective on the giants. I loved getting a little bit more magic here and there as well. I thought that was really interesting. And I also just really love our main character Corbin and seeing his growth and evolution in this. I really like that he is a young male character in a high fantasy novel who isn't a sort of arrogant, I know it all, hyper intelligent. You know, he's not falling into the sort of Kvothe, or is it Kel from the Blinding Knife series? He's not falling into that sort of category of young man in a story. He's very much falling into the sort of Jon Snow, Fitz from the Farseer trilogy. He's much more sensitive, he's much more thoughtful, and like he cries quite a lot in this, and I think that's a really nice representation to have because he goes through a lot, and you feel that for him. You feel that for him very viscerally, I think, and I think John Gwynne does a good job of showing that without actually being too purple in his prose either. Like, he is still very blunt, war, battles, like you are getting that action from him while still being allowed those breathing moments to kind of ponder the sort of character dynamics, ponder how these characters are feeling and how this war is affecting them and how they are kind of wrestling with their own destiny. So yeah, I really enjoyed this one too, and this scale a 4 star. So we had 2 4.5s and 4 in this vlog, which is lovely for me because I have been having a really great reading year so far, to be honest, and I'm just hoping to keep up the pace. Thank you so much for watching. I am now going to have to try and fit, I don't know whether you can see this, but I'm now going to have to try and fit this somewhere on this shelf, and I think I'm going to struggle. I have absolutely no idea. This is a chunky boy, so wish me luck with that. Leave me a comment down below if you have read any of these books, what you thought of them. I'd absolutely love to know, and thank you so much for watching. I will see you again very soon, I'm sure. Bye!